I've not forgotten about you over there. We have such a variety of characters represented by all of you up here. Real life people who you can research, who you can research less. The nurse as a character that we know within Romeo and Juliet. Lance is a little bit different, but kind of like this archetype. And then we have Francois, dropped into the middle of it all, where there is really, you can almost do anything with him. And yet I imagine that boundlessness can be a challenge to then focus on who he is. Tell me about what you connected to initially in him, that you said, this is someone I want to take on, and who you shaped him into being.
Yeah, I think what you said was right. It can be anything. And I think in the beginning, I absolutely tried to make it as much as I could. But what we found was the most successful was when we tried to take as much of that busyness away and allow Francois to be seen for who he truly is, and who that is someone who wants to be seen. And he wants to be seen for himself and accepted for himself by everyone in this world, but especially by his father. I think the biggest takeaway that I want anyone in the audience to watch the show, to walk out of the audience remembering, is that it's okay to fight for the things that you love, whether or not it's accepted by the people who raised you and the people who should support you. And I think that's what makes the relationship, in my opinion, the core relationship between this father and son so complicated and intriguing. And so what grabbed me initially was the fact that I love my real life dad. Like, he's my best friend, he's my favorite person in the world. And but that doesn't mean that we don't have our disagreements and our conflicts. Anytime I watch anything related to father and son, I just cry. And so when Paolo came in, the first thing he said when he saw me was, "My son!" He always says it. And so we always hug, and there's this genuine connection that just formed with Paolo and I. And it's a blast to, I don't want to use the word, I guess, yeah, play with Paolo on stage every day, because what he gives me is so real and authentic. And Francois does feel not seen at times. And I think it's his job, or I think the actor's job, to find the inspiration in all of these women on stage and what they do to him. And I think he kind of comes into his own, he finds his voice, and he's able to fight for his own love. He's able to fight for himself. He's able to fight for May himself and the acceptance of his father. And that, I think, to me, was the most relevant thing that I found in this character.
Yeah. Well, I think people will definitely take that away, as well as something I took away, which is, who is this ridiculous singer? Where has he been? Because not that everyone on the stage doesn't have an unbelievable voice, but we've been blessed to hear some of your voices before. And Philippe, you were so brand new in your Broadway debut here, and I was just like, who is this person? And how did you sing those pop songs? Amazing. But you bring up the fact that Francois is in the middle of, what does Juliet want? What does May want? All of these different relationships, again, like we've said, the web of relationships. And what's amazing about having so many lead female characters too is that you can see different paths of femininity and feminism, because I'll speak for myself in saying that I have felt so often that it's kind of like one side of the pendulum or the other, that we have these portrayals of, okay, either you are ambitious and strong and alone, or you are completely in love and compromised in some way. And I'm curious how being inside of this show has made you think about that spectrum and the portrayals and where this show lands.
It's I mean, you've just described every Christmas movie. As you know, we always
I mean, I'll sit there and eat the popcorn, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, are these my choices?
Yeah, we always leave the high-powered job to, go to the bar. It's what I love about this show is that it's, in terms of the portrayal of the people, it's not archetypal. Everybody's messy. Everybody's complicated. I love Anne and William so much and how tough that relationship is. When Anne hits him the zinger, I'm just your second best friend at the end there. Every night I go, oh. Because, and he says, I'm sorry, and I'm always, every day I go, are you? Are you? I ask the questions every night. When Francois said, it's gonna be May, I go, is it? No, because it's like, yes, this is a grand gesture, but are you now being rushed into something? Everything's messy. And all the people are like asking for big things. And I always ask, what happens tomorrow? When these characters wake up tomorrow after this thing, after this wedding, what are we going to say? We really going to get married? I love that. I love that there's no, again, it's like the play ends on an ellipsis. And I kind of love that because that's life. It's a it's just me and my punctuation today. That's all I'm going to talk to you about. That's life. Life is a series of continuing events until we stop. So until we stop, let's have the what's next.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about our play. So in terms of the femininity and the feminism, it's all messy because every day as we play these characters, we have to ask ourselves where on that spectrum we landed.
I want to piggyback on that and say, and loop back to an earlier question about things that have been taken out of the show. And Betsy, I need your help with this. But there used to be an epilogue that Anne would tell the audience, and here's what happens next. Right? She would talk about each of the characters and what they were doing, and she would say at the end, and Anne decides to stay with William for now, which is the ellipsis. Right, so we've just taken that out really just for expediency and just to sort of get to the last number, but it's still there, right? It's just unspoken.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this idea that like nothing's ever going to be perfect, and he says like this is an ending, and I'm like, well, maybe it's not an ending. We have to continually, every single day, fight for something that's important and be listening. And at the heart of this show, we spoke about it earlier, is that every single one of us on stage, every one in these relationships has the ability and power to make us better as humans. And the Lance is about their father because the nurse helps him understand what love is again. And we all, like everyone is better because of the person that they're with. And that is like why I believe this show at the heart of it. Yes, it is so much fun, but you realize, oh, I need people, we need people. And coming after this time that we've all been through, that's why I think this show resonates, is it's like, we need people to help make us see the best in ourselves.
But I also think that's what to me, this was the meaning I took from when you sing, that's the way it is, right? Like when you want it the most, there's no easy way. It's that, it's those poles, and where am I going to land? I guess what you're saying is, where am I going to land on the spectrum today? It's not a finale of like, I'm going to choose a spot on the spectrum and move forward in that lane. It's, you continue to choose. Yeah. Philippe, I'm curious, as the center of like, some of the other characters' discoveries on this subject, like how are you thinking about this question? Yeah. How are you responding to the ways in which your scene partners are thinking about this question?
I think at the same time, I don't want to necessarily say that one needs a relationship to be happy, but I do feel that my character's journey throughout the show is definitely inspired by the people that come into his life, whether that is to be confident or to fight for who you want to fight for. These are themes that are presented to all of us. I think all of us kind of use, now I don't want to say use other people, but we get inspired by the people that we are sharing the story with to then better ourselves and better our characters and have a cohesive arc. I think that's it.
No,
Sorry.
that was beautiful. In thinking about, for me, that specific Celine Dion song, I think this is something that happens to me whenever I see a jukebox musical, and particularly like more recent ones that are using, like you said, Betsy, like the ones that are nostalgic for me that I'm like, I remember when that song first came out. But I'm hearing this song in such a different way, because I think for me growing up, it was really about it was about the beat, it was about the chorus. I wasn't listening to what Katy Perry was actually singing. I wasn't listening to what Kelly Clarkson was actually singing. And so I'm curious, in putting these songs in a different light, for each of you, if there is a lyric that hits you differently than it does when it is a pop song outside of the show.
Yeah, I mean, yes, all of it. I mean, I think it also just speaks to what a brilliant songwriter Max Martin is.
Yeah.
The fact that like we can all bop along to these in the car or you know at a summer pool party or wherever, but if you actually sit and listen to them, you're like, oh my God, there's like a story here.
Yep.
It's insane. These are all story songs. I think for me, one of the it's so clever. The I Want It That Way, which is probably one of my absolute favorite moments in the show. It really sets up, I think, the comedy of the show, what the audience is in for, the way we're going to have storytelling. And if you actually listen to that song as it's written, it kind of makes no sense.
That's right.
But as a two-person conversation,
Yes.
it actually makes sense. And so it's almost like he knew he was going to have a musical all these years later. He's like, this'll be
He's
good.
also a prophet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when Juliet sings "Baby One More Time," and you know, it's this, you know, kind of fun pop song, and yet then you listen to these lyrics, it's extraordinary. The storytelling that actually can be done. It makes me wonder what else we could do.
Yeah, like when you really think about like, oh, what does it mean to have loneliness that is that deep, right? Stark, I'll start with you if you don't mind. What's a lyric for you that hits differently?
The songs that I sing in the show are, with the exception of I Want It That Way, are really all presentational, right? The show opens with Larger Than Life,
Right.
and I'm singing for an audience.
And then you're in the boy band.
I'm singing for the audience, and then I can't stop the feeling.
It doesn't have to be one that you sing necessarily.
That's the way it is. For me, and I don't think I've told Betsy this, but I remember vividly being in the rehearsal room in the first week or two after we'd done table reads and we'd done individual music things, but not together. Luke Shepard, our director, told me and Betsy that he really wanted to get us together and do all of our scenes, because they're all interstitial, right? And he wanted to connect them without any of the in-between stuff and just do them and just one after the other. And it was the first time that I heard Betsy sing That's the Way It Is. And I wept sitting, because I'm not in that scene. I would just set off to the side because she needed to sing the song. And I heard it and I just thought, oh my God. And I wrote in my diary that day about that experience. And it was, I just knew, I was like, this is gonna be a big deal for Betsy Wolfe.
Yes. Tony nominee, Betsy Wolfe.
And I was so grateful that I had that moment by myself, just to sit quietly and watch this magnificent thing happen in a rehearsal room with a piano and nothing else. You know, it was this really raw, bare bones thing, but it didn't matter the way that she sings that and the way her voice, you know, transmits that song. It just destroyed me. And so I will always pay attention when Betsy's singing that song.
I remember one day in Toronto, very early on, I think we were all just looking at the screen, stage right, looking at Betsy Wolf sing. That's the way it is. You're right, Betsy Wolf. And I think we're listening to it, and it's the big note, and she does the Betsy Wolf like head shake. And Stark leans to me, and he goes, "That's gonna get her the Tony nomination."
I think we've given you a lot of reasons to go back and see the show for the first time, but if we haven't up to this point, that's the reason, right? Like, it's unbelievable. It really is. Philippe, I don't know if that's your song as well, or your lyric as well, but if there's another lyric that you think of differently.
Well, Stark kind of touched on my loneliness is killing me, but the idea of loneliness kind of circulates it's just a general theme that hits almost every single song that I've just noticed. When he said that, I think I sing a song, it's my wedding vows, although loneliness has always, so I think it's just kind of a general theme with each character in their pursuit to kill that loneliness, or just to find their own version of what love means to them. So yeah, just that theme of loneliness.
Beautiful. Paolo, what about for you?
Well, I'm in a very difficult position because if I say shape of my heart, Mel is going to beat me. And if I say Teenage Dream, Philippe is going to do the same. So I just say everybody.
I mean,
Well,
the lyric speaks for itself.
let me just add that I am a pop culture disaster. I didn't know these songs at all. So they are all new to me. Not all, I knew everybody. But they were all part of the material in my life. And now when I'm at the gym, or a restaurant, and I hear, oh, that's the song from Shut Up. I know that song. And then I record a video singing like I know the song, but no, it's just because I learned for the show.
But now you've got the street cred. Melanie, what about for you?
I love him so much. I really do. I was like, I didn't really know any of the music for this show either. But it is Shape of My Heart, actually. I love how that song is used to be sung from a father to a son. But also, another of my favorite is no longer in the show. But there was a time when Shakespeare used to open Act 2 singing Oops, I Did It Again. I cried when that left. When that went, because I thought that was the funniest, most fun, and just most wonderful thing. But he was a little bit like this, so we didn't really want it to be that villainous. But it was the most wonderful thing, and I think you would have executed that just brilliantly. Because you are, and you don't know this, a comedy genius. And I say it to these people because you are so funny, Stark. You know why I'm saying that? Because Stark is convinced, he does a lot of drama, and he's a dramatic actor. And he's like, he gets really surprised when people tell him that he's funny. So please tell Stark stands with us.
Betsy Wolf is funny.
I learned everything from Betsy Wolf.
Right? Like, I love that show. I mean, we've seen you in, this is your 7th full production musical. I know it's your 8th Broadway credit. And we just hear her belting for days and, all of your talents. But I love that show going, Betsy Wolf is funny. Like, it's amazing.